Okay, I don't know why I did that. Let's talk about books. I start classes again in a week and I don't want to talk about school right now, but we're going to because I promised myself I would review every book I read this year, and that includes all of these books. My English class last semester was an intro to poetry, not writing poetry but reading it, and we're gonna go really fast through these books because I don't really care that much about them. Of course, we read the obligatory Dead White Guys, and although I love Shakespeare as much as the next girl, Native American poetry is the coolest thing ever. Just look at that, like, what? It's super awesome. We also read this African American poetry. It was pretty good. Yep. The specific poems we read really in depth included Rime of the Ancient Mariner, which, although being really epic, is one of the most confusing things I have ever read. Then we read Goblin Market, which is just unpleasant to read. It's got a literal level, and then it's got a really creepy sexual level, and then it's got a weird religious allegorical level, and just forget about it. The last thing we read was For Colored Girls Who Have Considered Suicide When the Rainbow Is Enough. It's actually called a choreo poem, whatever that means. The author made it up. The writing looks like that, and it's really emotional, and it can be hard to read because of that. So yeah, now I've read a lot more poetry than I have before. To finish up my school books in philosophy, I read Plato's 5 Dialogues. I didn't read all of them, and I couldn't really tell you what the ones I read were about. I was also supposed to read Plato's Republic, but let's face it, I didn't read that. It turns out philosophy isn't my thing. For my theology class, we read a book called The Solace of Fierce Landscapes. My theology class was one of my favorite classes because of the professor who was so awesome. This book is by my professor, but don't read it. It assumed a knowledge of theology that I did not have. The writing was really lofty and unpleasant to read, and it was really deep and dense, and I wanted to take like 5 hours to think about every sentence I was reading, but I couldn't do that because obviously I was on a schedule with homework to finish it and write a paper about it. Let's forget about that book. The other book I read for theology was called Encountering God. It was about the relationships between all the different faiths that exist in the world. It was really interesting, but I only wish it had addressed the relationship between atheists and theists. But it was one of the better books I read for school this semester. Although technically I only read 4 chapters of it. There are 3 books left that I read in 2011 that I have not reviewed, and then 8 rereads, so those will be in the next video, and then the video after that will be some sort of top 10 list of the best books of the year. And then I will be able to just review books as I'm reading them, which I think will be a lot more fun for me, and that's what my plan is for videos for now. But there will also be non-book review videos sometimes, because contrary to popular belief, I do things besides read. Anyway, see ya!